if you have equal income and expenses, you get zero tax.
Oh.
Because there's nothing to tax.
This is the Ellie
And Lee
Show.
Okay, so we decided to take a different direction with the Rich Dad series.
Because we thought the content is too redundant.
Yeah, that's true. So we still think it's interesting, but we wanted to do it at a little quicker pace. So let's look at chapter 4. And the basic theme of chapter 4 is taxation.
Taxation.
Yeah, that's kind of something I don't really like, or most people don't really like, because obviously you want services, but at the same time, like the amount of taxation that different countries end up paying is pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, but it depends on the country. So some countries like North Europe,
Yeah.
they are well known for high taxation, right? But for example, the
America's kind of in the middle, I'd say. I was actually looking at it today. So, like, if you look at Singapore is relatively low. But I know there are some Arab countries where it's zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, well,
How come?
have you not heard of, like, companies taking their money and putting it offshore, like in quotes, offshore? So they put it in a very, very tiny country where the tax is at zero. Like,
I
you
see.
get the Caribbean islands or Canary Islands or something like that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it's not something I'm educated in.
Yeah, I also remember the documentary about Estonia.
Okay.
It's a country in Europe.
Yeah.
And I heard that it's good environment to make your business, and I think it's because of taxation.
That's the reason why you ended up with Hong Kong and Singapore doing really well, is because they have very low taxation. I think they don't have really stringent legislation. So, you know, like certain requirements that you have to meet before you can do business.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah, because the thing is, ease of business does include taxation. Because the thing is, it's not just that, like if you look at a company, it's not just corporate tax, but also, let's say, income tax. So that's done on the individual. If that's really high, then that person would obviously want a higher salary. Yeah.
It's kind of proven that the country with low tax
Yeah.
is more apt to the business, right?
Yeah, well, it's cheaper to do business.
But I wonder the welfare of the countries like that.
Yeah, well, that's the balance you have to have, because, well, if you look at, again, the case of Singapore, because people are relatively well off, they earn a good amount of income and stuff like that, then I don't think they have to have such a big welfare program. Because if you look at...
But welfare is about the people who are not doing really well. I mean, like mostly, usually.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a double-edged sword, because those people that aren't doing well, you want to make it as easy for them to start to do well. But then if you have taxes, you know, the moment they reach a certain threshold, then they start getting taxed. Because I know in a lot of countries they have like, if you're under a certain income bracket, then you get zero tax, like income tax. But then the moment you pass that threshold, now you're getting taxed. So, you know, it's obviously, there's a give, because, or you have to have a balance, because, you know, you don't want too high taxes such that businesses can't really thrive. But then again, you need taxes. Well, I don't know if you need it or not, but if you want to have a social net, then having taxes is necessary in that situation.
I see. So from this conversation, what I understood was there would be like numerous ways for country to take as their policy. But there might be two ends, which has high tax and low tax, but even it's the opposite end. All countries pursue the welfare of the citizen.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
even though the tax is low, I only thought that country wouldn't have much for the people who are not doing well. Where can they get the money from? But what you said was that since the tax is low, people can easily start their business, which can open their possibility up for those kind of well-doing thingy.
And also when you grow your income, then if you have lower taxes, then you get to keep more of the income. I think it's in most countries where they have a staggered system. So the more you earn, the more tax you pay. But then if you didn't have that system, then it'd be the more you earn, the more you keep, which means you could actually invest more or, do other things. Because there is another alternative where you could have zero tax, which is where if you had a country with a strong charity, so lots of different organizations or even just religious organizations, then you can have it where they could help those that aren't doing well. And then the thing is, with charity, it's generally more efficient.
But like, I don't really have good image of charity because here in Korea, there are a lot of cases of corruption. So it happened before several times, but recently it happened again. So there is, when Japan conquered Korea, they got some Korean girls from our country and then used them as a like sex slave. So after that, like those people who survived from the war, they obviously wanted to like get compensation from the Japan, and we obviously as a Korean we want to help them, so some people send the money, but recently it appeared that money didn't really go to those people but the people in organization.
Yeah. If you're enjoying this video so far,
please like and subscribe.
Okay, so back to the chapter. We went on a little bit of a tangent, but the first quote that I found was that the reality is that the rich are not taxed. It's the middle class who pays for the poor, especially the educated upper middle income class. So I think that is just talking about the fact that the rich tend to invest, like they have their own companies and they do a lot of investments that often have tax incentives.
Yeah.
But then the middle class, so the people that just work like a really good job but nothing else, they end up paying the bulk of the tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, I think.
Okay.
Obviously, the tax law would be different from country to country, right?
Yeah.
He's American, like the writer.
Yeah, the author.
I'm Korean, but it's the same here. So maybe.
Yeah, because the thing is, a country would incentivize the creation of businesses. So then they often give tax breaks to those people. And another thing is, in general, if you look at the highest tax bracket for individuals, and then you compare it to the corporate tax rate, it's way lower. So if a rich person just starts a company and puts all of their money into that company, even like regardless of how big the company becomes, they're still going to pay less tax than they would have if they just saved it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Even I didn't really know about those kind of things. I saw lots of news about those rich people or even the celebrity made their own corporate, and it's not illegal, but
no, I don't think it's bad
just
either.
The way of I don't know if it's bad or not, because
you're creating a company.
It's hard to judge.
But you're creating a company, and for that company to survive, it means that people would want it or want the services or products that you create.
No. But like in their case, they make corporation only because they want to lessen their tax.
If the system's there, the system's there. I think that's where we differ.
That's hard for me to judge because it's not illegal, but it doesn't really seem nice.
Okay. So the way I see it is, if the system's there, then, and you're not doing anything against the system or illegal, then if you're able to use it, then why not use it? Yeah, I know a lot of people would think, it's some form of stealing or whatever the case may be. But, that's a system put by the government, which is hopefully put in power by the people. So
how many people would agree or disagree with it?
The rich people would agree.
You're not rich.
Yeah, but I'd like the system to stay the way it is if I do become rich.
Okay. So for the second quote, if you work for money, you give the power to your employer. If money works for you, you keep the power and control it.
Yeah, so I'm sure those that have watched our previous videos can kind of see this has been touched on already in a previous chapter. So it's kind of the reason why we wanted to speed up. The thing is, if you work for money, then it means that you are doing things to get the money, right? So if it's a job, then whoever's giving you the money, you are doing things for them. But then if money works for you, it's your choice to do with it what you want to. Like
That's
if you earn that extra income, let's say you sell a house, right? And you earn like $50,000 in profit. You have the option to choose whether or not you can spend it or invest in something else.
Yeah.
But then if you think of working at a job, let's say you get a bonus of the same amount, $50,000, which would be a lovely bonus. But if you get that,
people would do the same.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you get that bonus, right, for you to maintain it, you still need the job. Once the house is sold, that 50,000 is yours, it's done. But if you want to keep on getting that bonus, you have to keep on working. So yeah, and then we'll just touch on the last quote that I found. So employees earn and get taxed, and they try to live on what is left. A corporation spends everything it can and is taxed on anything that is left. It's one of the biggest legal tax loopholes that the rich use. So this is what we were talking about. Because remember, you get taxed on earnings.
Yeah.
So if your deductions and liabilities from your corporation is almost equal to your earnings, then you pay a lot less in tax. It's kind of a good and bad thing, because it's a good thing because it incentivizes you to keep on putting into your corporation. But at the same time, I don't think anyone really likes that loophole. Well, those that are earning, their usual salary, I wouldn't really
I don't
like
get this quote.
It's saying people that have a salary, they get taxed on what they earn. So what your salary is, you get taxed. But in a company, you only get taxed on the balance of your income versus your expenses. So if you have equal income and expenses, you get zero tax.
Oh.
Because there's nothing to tax. It's income minus expenses. You only get taxed on revenue. And your revenue is minus what you have to pay. You have to pay to your employees, what you have to pay for your loans, what you have to pay for your... Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking it would be better to know this kind of information way before I grew up. I mean, like, while I was growing up, I didn't really care about taxes or didn't really know what corporations do and things like that. Till now, I didn't know corporation only have to pay for taxes for income after expenses. So I believe myself as educated, but really didn't know the importance of financial education.
Yeah.
And it's really good motivation for me to study more.
So I would say that's probably the biggest value of this book, because it's done in very simple terms, but it teaches you that, hey, maybe you should start looking at financial intelligence.
Yeah, people all care about IQ or EQ, but
no one cares
not
about
that
EQ.
much. Yeah, no one really talk about FQ.
Yeah, I think from reading this book, we've kind of found that it's important to, start to work on our financial intelligence. So I think the argument of taxation is kind of one that would go on forever, because there's some that really do want and need taxation so that they can have that social benefits. And then there's others that believe that, without taxation, they can probably thrive and do much better.
I don't think it would have some definite answer, but it depends on each situation.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's hard.
I think the thing is, if people in general are doing better, then less taxation is required.
I think so too.
Oh, that's the way it should ebb and flow. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're not sure.
So, what do you guys think about taxation? Are you for it or against it? And what kind of level of taxation do you think is adequate?
Please comment below. We would like to hear your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out.
Thanks for watching. See you.
you.